Hello, welcome everyone to Groundworks Live. My name is Brian Black. I'm the Director of Sales Training here at Groundworks, and I'm really excited to be kicking off. This is our first Groundworks Live. These are going to be monthly Facebook segments, and during these live sessions, we're going to be discussing tips and tricks and information that every homeowner should know. To start it all off today, we'll be discussing energy saving tricks, tips and tricks for homeowners. Common ways you can lose energy, and how homeowners like yourself can improve their home's energy efficiency and save on heating and cooling bills. And I don't know about you, but as the weather gets colder out, I know that my wife and I are spending more and more money on those heating bills. So, hey, without further ado, let's jump right in and get started. I don't know where there it is. Sorry about that. So hey, let's start off with some home energy, energy saving consumption facts. So 55% of home energy consumption is used for heating and cooling bills. The remaining 45% is water heaters, appliances, electronics, and lighting. And in 2012, the average US home spent $2,000 on heating, cooling, appliances, electronics, and lighting. But as you know, 2020, we're all spending a lot more time at home, whether it's virtual schooling for the kids or you're working remotely. Experts are telling us that number is going to go up quite a bit as we continue to wrap up 2020 and into 2021. So how do you know, now that you kind of understand how the average home uses energy, let's start with how a home actually loses energy. According to Energy Star, the most common places for home to lose energy are actually air leaks. And this is where energy that you've produced with heating and cooling is actually lost or being wasted. So what are those areas? Well, number one is crawl spaces. If you are sitting on a crawl space home and it's an unconditioned crawl space, it's an unencapsulated crawl space, that is going to be a huge loss of energy. And that comes from that unconditioned and wet air getting into the crawl space from the ground or the soil, from cracks in the foundation, from vents, the vents on the exterior of the home, and also through the rim joist. Now in a basement, the next area that you'll see, the next highest area that you'll see these energy leaks and these air leaks is going to be through the basement and the rim joist. The third is the attic, right? If you don't have proper insulation and in your attic, and you don't have a proper setup in your attic, you're going to lose a lot of air leak. You're going to have a lot of air leak. Next, dryer and stove vents, right? We're forced to vent those dryer and those stove vents outside, and if those aren't done properly, you can lose a lot of heating and cooling. Next is outdoor faucets. This is a common place that don't have proper insulation, and then old windows and doors, right? That's just to name a few. There are actually many more that we could discuss as we go through this. So the thing you got to understand about your home is that really every home is different, and every home has different insulation issues. There are commonalities, but you really have to approach your home from it's going to be different than your neighbors. So how can you discover where you're losing heating and cooling, where you're having these air leaks? How can you do that in your home? Well, start by walking around your home. And if you feel a draft, or if you feel cold air coming in the winter, or even warm air in the summer, that's likely a place where you have an air leak. That's likely a place where you're losing energy through heating and cooling. In addition, if there's a room that's always hotter in the summer or cooler in the winter, say a cold floor, or you even walk into that room and it's noticeably different than the rest of the home, well, you probably have a decrease in energy efficiency in that room, and you're probably not utilizing your heating and cooling very well. So how can you improve your home's energy efficiency? There seems to be countless areas where a home can lose or waste energy, as we just discussed. So how can you improve that energy efficiency? Well, the first thing you need to look at is a crawl space. If you have a crawl space home, if you're sitting on a crawl space home, you can save 20% through a proper encapsulation. And what do we mean by that? Well, take a look at these before and after pictures. Okay, here's an example of a home that one of the Groundworks companies encapsulated and insulated properly. So what's going on here? Well, first off, we isolated the home from the earth. Remember, the first cause of higher heating and cooling bills from a crawl space is that unconditioned and wet air that's coming up through the soil. So step one is isolating the home from the earth, or encapsulating the soil so that unconditioned wet air can't get up into the crawl space. The next step, as you can see, when you look at the silver insulation along the walls, is proper insulation of that crawl space. So this is going to seal the cracks in the foundation walls. This is going to seal the crawl space vents. It's also going to seal the rim joist area. So the way we approach that is with a product that we call Extreme Block. And this is a graphite infused insulation. It also has a built-in termiticide in it. So it's going to prevent you from having any bug issues down the road. And this is how you approach properly insulating and addressing a crawl space. You know, other benefits to properly addressing a crawl space is going to be, it's going to eliminate those cold floors, right? If you have cold floors in a certain area, it's going to eliminate that. It's going to prevent mold and mildew growth. Believe it or not, in the summer, these crawl space environments can be very, very wet, and they can be very damp. And so if that damp, wet air gets into the floor framing system, well, then mold and mildew can begin to grow, and that can end up degrading your floor system. And it's not uncommon, actually, where we have to put in supplementary supports to, or even sister and replace woodwork to address these sorts of causes. So getting to it early is going to prevent you from having the mold and mildew and the issues with the framing system. Other benefits include this dry usable space, right? We have a lot of customers across the country that will use it for storage. And then it's, as we mentioned, our system is going to deter pests and rodents and such from getting in. A dry space in the crawl space, a dry crawl space, is less likely to be a place where a rodent or a pest is going to want to live. So they prefer a more damp environment. So let's talk about the stack effect. So it's really, really important. So we just talked about, you know, we went over and we discussed you know, ways that you can lose energy. We discussed ways to address and fix the problem. But what's causing there to be an issue to begin with? Well, it's what we call the stack effect. Okay, so in the winter, as you can see here, you get that cold air that comes in through those crawl space vents, and that cold air naturally flows up through the home. Okay, in fact, about 50% of the air that you're breathing on the first level of your home is actually from your crawl space. And this is no different if you have a basement or if you live in a basement area. 50% of the air that you're breathing on your first level is actually air that's come in and run up through the basement. And so the natural airflow of a home, called the stack effect, is from the bottom of the home up to the top, you know, through the roof vents, through the chimneys, and out through upstairs windows. Now, it's hard in the winter because in the winter you have this warm, or you have this cool air that's coming in, and a lot of times you're running, you know, your furnace ductwork runs through your crawl space, so that cool air is going to be hitting those vents where you're trying to heat that air and run it through your home, right? So that's going to increase your heating costs. Now, in the summer, there's an even more damaging thing that occurs. Okay, and this is really where a lot of the damage can occur in a crawl space is in the summer, because what happens in the summer is you're getting humid, hot air that's coming into your crawl space through your vents, through your cracks in your floor, cracks in your foundation, through the rim joist. And then what that does is, as that warm air comes into your crawl space, it's going to cool. And for every degree that your air is cooled, it's going to increase the relative humidity by about 2.5%. So simple math, right? Simple math. It's 90% humidity outside. It's 90 degrees, and it's 70 degrees in your crawl space, let's say. And you're getting 90% humid air that's 90 degrees. It's going to cool 20 degrees in that crawl space. Remember, for every degree, that's 2.5% relative humidity increase. So you can see how very quickly in the summer, you're going to get a situation where the relative humidity rises above 100%, and it's actually going to be raining inside of your crawl space. So that is very, very important that you address that, because once that humidity begins to build in that crawl space, that's when that moist, damp air gets into the floor system. That's when mold and mildew and fungus is going to begin to grow, and that's going to begin to degrade your floor system. So it is really, really important to know, what's going on with the home, and that air is traveling from the bottom of the home up through the roof and through the top of the home. So proper insulation and properly addressing a crawl space and a basement is going to be really, really important. So, look, having a healthy, energy efficient home starts from the ground up, as we just discussed, which is why the lower levels of your home, like the crawl space and basement, are so important to address. Okay. But there are also numerous ways you can save energy bills in the living spaces with your home. For example, you're going to save about 5 to 30% by sealing air leaks with using caulk, spray foam, and weather stripping. So weather stripping, this is what you put in and around your basement, your doors, your windows. We actually use, when we put our Extreme Block product in the rim joist, we'll spray foam around that to seal it really nicely. The next thing to look at is you're going to save about 12 to 33% by installing storm windows, right? These can be a very easy, cost-effective replacement to actually replacing the windows themselves. So this is a very energy efficient thing that you can look at. Next thing we want to talk about is you can save about 10% using a programmable thermostat. I know if you're like me, I like it a little bit cooler when I go to bed at night, and I want it a little bit warmer when I wake up. So using a programmable or even a smart thermostat, it's gonna learn those ways, and so it's going to automatically decrease your thermostat at night, and then it's going to automatically increase it in the morning. So you're not having to go and manually do that. So you can save quite a bit of energy there as well. Another thing we want to look at is your furnace. Okay, if you're like most of the country, you're in a home, it's 20, maybe 30 years old, and there's a good chance that your furnace is original. They have 98% plus efficient furnaces now. So, if you're sitting on an 80% or an 85% efficient furnace, looking at upgrading your furnace can be a huge energy savings, especially in the winter months. Lastly, we want to talk about ensuring that your foundation is secure. So this is something that we here at Groundworks, we look at all the time, as a failing foundation. And when your foundation is settling into the soil, it can leave gaps between the concrete foundation and the floor system. And that's just going to allow more of those air leaks to occur, whether it's a basement or a crawl space. So look, as we talk about improving your home's energy efficiency, as we look at improving your home's energy efficiency and lowering your utility bills, what kind of value does that bring to your homeowner, right? To you, the homeowner, what kind of value does that bring you? Well, updates can quickly pay for themselves. When we encapsulate a home and properly insulate a home, crawl space, we have customers that are saving up to $200 a month on their heating and cooling bills, because it's such a huge loss, and there's so much air leak in that crawl space. Also, why is it important to look at this? Well, you want to reduce your carbon footprint, right? Reducing your carbon footprint is extremely important as we look at the effects of global warming and our impact on the environment. Also, a home insulation a lot of times will come with tax credits. So depending on the area of the country that you live in, you can look at federal or even state level tax credits. And lastly, look, you want to enjoy your home. That's where you're spending the majority of your time. That's where you lay your head down to rest. That's where your family lays their head down to rest at night, right? So having a comfortable living space is important, and it's something that most people value, and having an energy efficient home is important to that. So look, We cover here at Groundworks, we cover about 26 states in the continental United States. We do everything from foundation repair, lifting and leveling foundations, basement wall, retaining. We do crawl space encapsulation, waterproofing, and insulation. We do basement waterproofing. Okay, we're a specialty contractor, and we're the largest and leading specialty contractor in the areas that we serve, which is 26 states, like I said, in the continental United States. We're responsible for millions of homes throughout the US and long-lasting warranties. If you're interested in a complimentary inspection with one of the Groundworks companies, feel free to hop on groundworks.com and schedule a free complimentary estimate, and you'll have a certified field inspector come out to your home and be able to give you an estimate on what it would be like to increase your home's energy efficiency, or even address some of those other things that we discussed, basement waterproofing, foundation issues as well. So with that, I will open it up to any questions that you on Facebook Live might have. And I think we've got a couple coming in here right now. First question, all right, good question here. So how long does it take to install a crawl space encapsulation or waterproofing system? So really, really good question. The neat thing about the solutions that we provide, so as I mentioned, we're a specialty contractor. We're not a general contractor. So we only do what we're absolute best at. And in the areas of crawl space encapsulation, a typical encapsulation is going to take anywhere from 1 to 2 days. We're not the type of company that's going to come and start the job and then take a break and go to another one, right? We're gonna complete your job, and that's typically within a day, 2 days at the most for a crawl space encapsulation. All right, looks like we got another question coming in. So what do these projects cost? Another really good question. We want to know, how much is this going to cost me? Well, there's a lot of variables there. So the first thing you need to look at is the size of your home. So the larger the home, the more it's going to cost to repair it or encapsulate or waterproof it. The next thing you want to look at is the scope of your problem. So we talked about those crawl spaces, right? If you let these problems go, if you let that unconditioned air continue to fester, and you begin to have floor framing damage, and your floor framing system has to be addressed, that's going to increase the cost of the job. Another thing is the level of protection. So the third thing would be the level of protection desired by the homeowner. So we'll have different levels of protection that certain customers will decide on, and other customers will, maybe go with a higher level of protection. But lastly, I want to put your mind at ease. We have a ton of really great financing options available, and these are all 100% financing options. So you can finance the entirety of the job. There's nothing out of pocket, and you can make either comfortable monthly payments, or we can even look at doing a same as cash option where you basically get free money for a certain amount of time. So all of those different financing options are available. And when you get your complimentary inspection, they can certainly go over all of your options with you. Any more questions out there? No? Well, if there's no more questions, guys, it looks like that's the end of our time. Thank you for everyone who tuned in today. Make sure you keep an eye out for our next segment. That's going to be in January. We're really excited to bring that to you. So until then, stay safe, Merry Christmas, and Happy Holidays.